Morning, everybody. Hi, man. Morning, everybody. How you guys doing? You guys good? Who's come to the Youth Money Circle for the first time? Just by show of hands. Yarr. Yarr, that's a lot of new people. Lot of new people. I just randomly want to ask people, what's your current relationship status with your money? Just put up your hand if you'd like to just share with me. What's your relationship status with your money right now? Is it good? Is it bad? Anybody brave enough to tell me? Relationship status? Is it bad? Can you just give me a mic? I want to hear from a couple of people whether it's good or is it bad. What's going on with these statuses? Who's brave enough to tell me what their relationship status is now? Or to start with you? What's your relationship status at the moment with money?
It's complicated.
It's complicated. It's complicated. It's not coming right.
No.
It's bad. All right, cool stuff. Let's move it there to the back. Just want to hear just from a couple of people. What's your relationship status with your money at the moment?
Very bad.
Very bad. So not even bad, very bad.
Very.
All right, let's hear from a couple of other people. Can we move it up there to the top?
Currently, we are distant cousins.
So distant cousins. All right, let's get one more person. Maybe somebody on this side. Can we move the mic?
Critical but stable?
Critical but stable. Yeah, no, it's very, very shaky. All right, so now we'll wrap it up for now. We'll come back to the relationship status. Relationship, eh? All right, so my name is Tepo Khapane. Some of you guys know me as DJ at large. I started Youth Money Circle in 2016. I see a couple of people that have come to the first event and they're still here. So it's a free event, but just because it's free doesn't mean it has to be a mess. So you'll notice there's some good food, there's a little bit of some popcorn, there's some slush, there'll be some music, there'll be some fun, there'll be some games. That's how we do the events. We try and keep them very, very fun and interactive. So today is all about money. It's about improving your relationship with your money. And it doesn't matter if you're in high school, you're unemployed, you're in tertiary. Everybody has to have a good relationship with their money. So we have 4 very interesting speakers that are going to come. We're going to speak to them about money. So when a speaker is here and we're having a chat with them, don't be afraid to ask additional questions. There's no such thing as a terrible or a stupid question. So everybody's good? All right, cool. So does everybody know the rule about the books? Oh, because there's a lot of new people, right? So during each session, every time somebody asks a question, the book moves to that person. So if there's somebody at the back that asks a question, the book goes there, the book keeps moving, and then at the end of the session, the person that has the book last keeps the book. But there's a twist. I tweeted you, Warren, that there's a little bit of a twist today. There's a twist. All right, cool stuff. So quick house rules. Let's please put our phones on silent. Let's try and keep it nice and easy so that everybody can get through and ask their questions. There is some food, there's some snacks. The bathrooms, as you exit, you turn left, turn right. First door on your left is the guys, second door on your left is the ladies. So we're all good? We're all ready? Are we all good? Are we all ready? All right, cool stuff. So, Warren, before we go in, oh, yes, they just reminded me. We've also got a hashtag going on, which is YMC Money Sessions. The person that tweets the most, tweets the coolest, will get one of these books. So one of these books are reserved for that person. All right, so, Warren Ingram. Just give me a second. Okay, so I'm going to be giving away 4 books that belong to Warren Ingram. So I saw a couple of people have these books already. So I'm going to show you what these books are. Cool. So the one book is called Become Your Own Financial Advisor. Really, really cool book. The second one is called How to Make Your First Million, right? So I'm going to be giving away 4 of these books. However, there's a little bit of a twist. We're going to do money 30 seconds. So he's got the words. You guys will try and figure out what the words are. And every time you guys get one right, a book will be going to the crowd for the sessions, right? So we've got 5 questions. We've got a bonus, which is number 5. But if they get 4, then 4 of the books will go into session. You guys don't get the 4, I keep the books. Is that fair? Is that cool? Why are people saying no? They're very easy. They're very easy. Keys, will you keep time? A minute for us? I will give them a minute.
What must I do?
So you've got the words. Warren, have you never played 30 seconds? What? All right, Warren, so you've got these 5 words, right? Okay. So you've got to give them a description so that they can guess the word.
Okay. All right.
Pretty easy. You got it.
Okay.
You ready?
Even I can do that.
Even you can do that. All right, cool stuff. So you ready to count them down? 3, 2, 1, go.
He's a cabinet minister and he loves to cook.
Cool. Got that right, Tito Mboweni. That's correct. Minister of Finance. They got it right?
Okay, next one.
Next one. Let's keep going.
Okay, king of the jungle.
Lion. That's correct. That's correct. On which note is the lion on? Which note? 10 rand note. 10 rand. Are you guys sure? The 50 rand note, right? Cool. Let's keep going. The next one.
Where's the place you can save money and you don't have to pay any tax?
Tax-free savings account, right? Cool.
Rocky.
That's correct. What's the next one? Ah,
Mr. Beyonce.
Mr. Beyonce. Who's Mr. Beyonce? Jay-Z. All right. So the first rapper that's a billionaire. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to make sure everybody gets a book, gets something.
Who's the bank, and I don't work for them, but who's the bank that makes it really easy for people to save without having to spend a lot of money paying banking fees?
So what are we? Is the time? It's a minute. So there's one book that they're not getting. Yes, you're harsh. You so why are you so harsh? All right, that's cool. I'll forgive you. I'll forgive you guys. All right, cool stuff, guys. So we're gonna get the session started. We'll get our first book here, and it'll start moving around, right? So some of you guys might have seen Warren. You might have heard of Warren. He is an award-winning financial planner, a best-selling author, a financial commentator. If you listen to 702 every Thursday, you hear him there just spewing knowledge and everything. And today it's all about this book right here, How to Make Your First Million. The book is not about the million. It's about the things you need to do in order to get the million. So in other words, even if you're in high school, what should you be doing with your allowance or or whatever money you have so that you get yourself onto the path to making the million? That's what the book is all about. So we're going to be with Warren for a couple of minutes. We're going to have some fun. I've got a couple of questions for him. Warren, thank you so much for coming to our second event.
I love it. I love
Yeah,
being
this is
here.
the second one with you, right?
Yeah. Thanks
The
for
second
having
one
me.
with you.
I love it here.
All right, so Warren, this is obviously your second book, and this was your first book. What did people think about this first book?
Well, a funny story, So I write that book. I mean, when I do my writing, it's 4 o'clock on a Saturday morning, 4 o'clock on a Sunday morning. My wife kicks me out of bed and says, "Go write your books because the money from that goes to put kids through school, right? It's not for me, as you can see. I don't spend money." So I wrote this book, and what I was hoping was that at least my family would buy it. If they would buy it, well, at least I've sold like 5. And what happened was it took off. So we sold thousands, and I started to feel pretty good, and we started paying for kids to go through school. That was great. But then the questions started coming. And the first one came from like this grumpy old man who said, "You made a spelling mistake on page 111.
Wow.
I won't tell you what I said to him. But then the questions became more serious, and it was about the relationship with money. And people were saying, "But it's hard. What you said there we can understand, but it's hard. It's difficult. And how do I make a decision to spend this now or save this for later? It's easier to spend for now than to save for later." And that was kind of the first thing that came back. And then it was a case of saying, "But it's impossible. We can't do this. What you write there is impossible." And that became difficult for me because I knew it was possible. I've seen it. We've met people that have done this. And that's when the motivation came to write
The second book, which is
second
now
book.
this book, yeah.
Yeah, and that was the point of saying there are lots of people. There are lots of people, lots of South Africans that have done this. And they didn't all have rich parents. They didn't all come from good backgrounds. They didn't have great history with money, but they could do it. And that was the thing in the first book that I thought, well, let's give all the rules and the game plan. What's the strategy? What do you have to do to get there? But what I realized was we needed to show examples of real South Africans that had done it.
All right, so now we on to the second book, How to Make Your First Million. If we're being honest, if I'm in matric or I'm in high school or I'm unemployed, does this book speak to me? Because if I'm in a position where I'm not earning money or I'm earning very, very little, can the dream to become a millionaire, is it real?
It's real. It's real. And I think your comment was right. It's not about the million. To me, someone wrote and said, it's clickbait. You wrote a stupid title. And maybe it was a stupid title. But the point is, it's about freedom. It's about being in control of yourself, of your life, and saying that if I'm earning and if I'm saving, I'm doing it so that I decide what to do with my life. It's not because I've got bills to pay, I've got to owe money to the bank or to whoever. It's me being in charge of what I want to do and spending my time the way I want to do that. And I think anybody can be financially free. I'm not saying everybody can be wealthy, right? So I mean, if you want to be Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, or whatever, that's going to take a lot of luck and not just hard work. But to be financially free, anybody
It's definitely a possibility.
Anybody can do it.
Right, cool stuff. So if you guys have any questions, just raise your hand and the book will start to move, yeah? We cool? All right, so Warren, in your book, you talk about, the first chapter is about having a vision. Why is it so important to have a vision? And how do I go about creating my vision? Do I put pictures of Lamborghinis and Bugattis, picture myself on a yacht? How do I create this vision to then get myself onto the path to becoming a millionaire?
So to me, the secret to financial freedom is little bits of behavior every single day. So for example, do we go and decide now to go and buy that expensive, or not expensive, it's actually well priced, but to go and buy the cappuccino, or do we save that money and put it away for the future? And then how do you make that decision every single day? And sometimes 15 or 20 times a day. I mean, I'd love to dress the way these guys dress. I mean, they fly, right?
They're looking really good.
I mean, I can't afford to dress like that. So the point is, do I decide to look like me, or do I decide to look like them? And then the question is, how much money am I prepared to spend on different things? So it's about coming up with a vision for what I want my life to be.
Okay.
And it can't just be this like, yeah, okay, I want to be rich. I mean, what is that? That doesn't mean anything, right? So for me, it's about saying, I want to live here. I want to live on this. If it's an island, if you want to live on an island, cool. Don't fall over. Then take a picture of that island. Put it on your wall. Put it somewhere where you see it every single day. That as you wake up in the morning, you go, that's what I'm working towards. Okay. And then today, that means I'm not going to buy the cappuccino. I'm not going to go and buy the fancy car. I'm going to save that money and delay that gratification for another time. Right. And for now, it's about coming up with something that you believe in, that's important to you. And for parents, I saw, there's our first millionaire. She's standing in the back there wearing a pink little jacket.
Very, very tiny millionaire.
And so, I mean, for her mom and dad, I mean, they're going to look at this and they're going to say, she's our vision. We want her to be financially free. We're going to work hard now to delay on spending for ourselves because that's what's important to us. And if that's their vision, if that's what motivates them every day, then making money decisions becomes easier because it's always a trade-off. It's always about saying, I'm not going to have this now so that I can have this later.
Now. All right.
And how do you make that? That's a hard thing to do. We don't like doing that. We want everything right now. And so we have to have something that's important to us, that we believe in. And my vision is going to be different from your vision, and that's the point, is find your vision. Find the thing that motivates you every day to make that difficult trade-off.
Right, so it's about finding the vision that is specific to you that makes all the difference. I love the fact that you referred to the little one, because in your book you explain how it takes you between 7 and 8 years to make your first million.
Yeah.
But when I read that book, I realize that the younger you are, the better chance of you actually getting your million. If you're a bit older, you've always got to put a bit more money. But if you're very, very young, say you're in high school, then you can start to save with like 100 and keep going up. So can you explain and give us an example of why it takes 7 to 8 years and why it then becomes shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter?
I have to read this, you know.
You can go straight to the book.
Yeah. So just to give you that example. So for a lot of us, 5,000 Rand is a lot of money, right? Okay. So I understand that, but I have to show you an example. So this is someone who let's say they're making they've got a great job. They're earning 20 grand a month, okay? And they managed to save 5 grand a month. Okay. So in their lifetime, that's what they start to do. They save 5 grand only for the rest of their life. So the fact that maybe one day they're earning 20 now, but and in 20 years' time they're earning 40, they're still only saving 5 grand a month. Okay, so that's the game here. It will take them, if they just go and buy, let's just say, the Satrix 40, nothing amazing, right? It's just an index. It's cheap and easy to buy. I'm sure you tell people how to do it, but that's simple for them to do, and they do that every month. What happens is after 8 years, they've got 1 million rand.
So after 8 years of saving 5,000 rand, well, investing it, then you have the 1 million rand.
100%.
Okay.
So that's a long time. I can see the people at school here going.
8 years is a really, really long time. So that's 8 years, 5,000 rand.
They're probably sitting going, I want to be as old as that guy.
Okay.
And then, but this is the point. The next million, if you keep saving that 5 grand, now what's happening is your money is starting to grow on itself. Okay, that's the important part.
Interest on interest.
Interest on interest.
Okay.
And what happens now is that next million only takes 3 years, nearly 4, 3 years, 7 months, 3.5 years.
Okay.
So 8 years, then 3 years.
Okay.
Okay, that's
To get to the second million now,
to
it's
get
3
to
years.
the second million. Now you say, okay, well, hang on, that's quite quick. I mean, even if you're at school, 3 years isn't so far, right? But then well, not the last million, but the next million, 2 years and 4 months.
Jeez.
So suddenly, that's the point about this is, yes, it takes you a long time. Yes, it's hard to do. And we're talking about a million. It could be 10,000. It could be 1,000. The moment you start to get some money that's actually growing for itself. One of the banks said, let your money make money babies. And that's what this is about, is you want your money to start growing on itself. And the only way you can do that is it has to be either in a bank account, has to be invested, it has to be growing on itself. And that's the trick here. It can't be in your mattress, can't be under the bed, it can't be, okay, these are cheap shoes, can't be in your shoes. It's got to be stuff that you grow.
Okay, makes a lot of sense. So you have to have the vision to want to make the R1,000,000. You have to be willing to then make the sacrifices, which is the cappuccinos and so forth. Because sometimes I think as people, you know, if you have to go through your bank statement and you realize all the small amounts that are actually going off, you realize it's quite a lot of money actually. And if you had to actually look at it, it makes quite a lot of sense. So we have the vision, then we have to get into the right kind of habits, and then we have to wait, basically. Wait for the 8 years, and then after the 8 years, it starts to become shorter and shorter and shorter because of interest on interest, which makes a lot of sense.
I mean, you get to the point where you're sitting on, let's say, 3 or 4 million rand, and suddenly, let's say it's 4 million rand, it's making 400 or 500,000 rand a year, and you've done nothing. You've saved nothing. It's done it on its own. If you keep saving, it keeps growing. I mean, and I mean, I'm kind of lazy, so I wouldn't mind just lying in bed watching TV while my money's just doing stuff and I don't have to worry about it. And that's the point about compounding is you need it to be there to start growing on itself. And eventually you just sit back.
Cool. Any questions from you guys? Are you guys still good? You still with me? Got a question?
So where does the book go now?
Warren, there's 2 questions that I want to ask. First question is, why financial institutions, they are not educating people about investing and saving? My second question is, why are we still so broke, whereas there's so much information out there?
So your second question answered your first question, didn't it? So the thing about understanding the rules of money, I mean, look, I need to make a living as a financial planner, so I'm going to make it really complicated all the time, right? So at least I got a job in 5 years' time. But actually, it's kind of simple. And the real secret to saving and the real secret to becoming wealthy is actually spend less than you earn every single day of every single month of every single year for a period of time, and eventually you'll be fine. It's so simple. And it's easy. I can write. I mean, if you read that book, you'll realize I wasn't a genius, right? But the point is, it's actually quite difficult to do because we want everything now. We don't want to wait. We don't want to delay. We want to look rich. We want to be rich. We want to drive the fancy cars. We want to live in the big houses. We want to fly private. All of that we want right now. And the problem, the only thing about money is it takes time. That's the trick. Is you've got to leave it there and you've got to let it grow for it to start working for you. And so the answer to why we don't get there, why is it that only 5 out of every 100 people in South Africa who have a job, so I'm not even talking about 5 out of every 100 South Africans, 5 out of every 100 people who have a job can stop work one day and be okay. Think about that. That's scary. And actually, there are hundreds of books. I mean, there's some good ones and there's some bad ones. But this is not rocket science. I promise you. I'm not a rocket scientist. But this is not that difficult to understand. It's just difficult to do because it requires behavior, it requires discipline, it requires delaying wanting everything now. In terms of the financial institutions, I don't think there's one answer to financial education. I don't think we say that it must only happen at school or it must only happen by financial institutions or only by our parents. I think it's all of us. We all have to talk about this because we don't talk about money.
Yeah,
it's embarrassing. We don't want to say I've got difficult problems at home and I don't know I don't understand or whatever. And the issue here is we need to take responsibility. So I mean, if you've got access to the internet, you've got access to financial education. There's a lot of stuff that's available that's free, and the point is it takes a bit of effort and a bit of time to understand. But the thing is, we can't just sit back and just say, you must educate me. I mean,
You
got to
gotta
know,
make an effort, yeah.
you got to want to learn. And there is plenty of education stuff out there already about this. So yes, financial institutions can do more, but if you look at their websites, they actually do quite a bit already. They actually do take interest in this because they want you to be rich so that they can charge you more on other things, right? so they're aligned with you. They want you to have money and to spend money and to save money and then become clients of theirs in the future. So I think their interests are aligned in some ways, but it can't just be that. And it can't just be what happens at school either. You know, our parents need to talk to us about money. I mean, it has to start from her age.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the deal. It's not going to be one shoe fits all feet.
Cool. Any other questions from you guys? There's another one over there.
Hi, Warren. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm good. So I want to ask a question based on this title. It's a very brave title to, name a book, How to Make Your First Million. And if I'm going to write a book about being a superstar soccer player, I have to be Lionel Messi or Cristiano Ronaldo. So my question is, are you a millionaire?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
You know what? For that one, you can keep the book. We're gonna
Oh,
put
yeah.
another book. You can keep the book. We're gonna put another one in session.
Yeah, now I can start listening now.
Now you can also become a millionaire.
Right.
I think what Warren is trying to say, money is very simple. People complicate money. And what I want to say to this brother who was asking the question, the information is out there. The problem is that people don't want to go find the information. So I created this event for this purpose, so people can come and learn about money. But there's a group of people that aren't here that are still going to complain. Why don't we know about saving? Why don't we know about budgeting? So to you guys, kudos, because you guys made the effort. But the information is there. You need to go and find it. So purchase books like Warren's book, where there's so much information. It's simple, it's easy. And I keep saying, where the high school students are in the best position at the moment, better than anybody else. I'll give you a really good example. Where's Neptel? Capitec. Neptel. Yay. He's coming through later on. Capitec launched in, I think, March 2001, correct? And they listed in 2002. A share was R2.45. Does anyone want to guess how much a share was yesterday? 1,200 and something, right? So had you invested 10,000 Rand when Capitec started, you'd be sitting with 4.5 million Rand. And you don't even work for Capitec. You don't work for them. All you did was you gave them 10,000 Rand and then you waited. Which tells you that the high school students are in a great position. But even you, whatever age you are, you just need to start now. That's all you need to do. You need to start now. Read. Go onto the internet. Go onto YouTube. Come to events like this. And of course, buy Warren's book, because it's really, really easy. Right? Any other questions, guys? We've got two more. We're going to take two more and then we're going to keep moving, right?
Bengfuna Nhleke.
Hey, that bass. What's up, brother? What's your question, brother?
My question is that sometimes I feel like there are words which are vaguely explained. A word like financial freedom. We sometimes tend to think, when somebody's earning, say, 40,000, 50,000, they are rich. Or, they are financially free. Or when you just have money coming in. But when I say it and process it, well, it seems like they're not financially free. So what really is financial freedom?
You want to take it?
That's such a brilliant question. so let me tell you about two people. I'm not going to name them, but they live just over there. One lives near the Saxon Mall Chabine. And he's a lawyer. I've seen his bank statements and I've seen his investment statements. He's worth 52.3 million rand.
52.3.
52.3 million rand. He's not financially free.
At 52 million?
52 million. He's not.
What's his problem? What's going on with him?
That's why it's such a brilliant question. Because any of us, anywhere in the world, would say that's a wealthy man. Okay? That's a wealthy man. But between him and his wife, they spend 5.4.
5.4.
5.4. 5.4 million rand a year. Don't ask me what they're spending on. I don't understand. It would freak my mind. But that's what they spend. So the day he stops work, he's got 10 years and he's broke. He's not financially free. He's rich, We would all admire him. We'd like his house. We'd like his cars. That's how he spends the 5.4. Every year or two, he's got to have a new car. His wife's got to have the 50,000 rand handbags and all that stuff. They're not free. Financial freedom, the best example I've come across was a lady I met at age 58. She got retrenched, kicked out of her work. She worked in the newspaper industry. They weren't printing newspapers anymore. She was done. She had no job. She only understood printing machines. 58. She retired on $3 million.
With $3 million.
$3 million, which I know it sounds like a lot of money, but when you've got to live off that for the next 30, 40 years, it's tough to do. She did it. She's cool. She spends under control, so she spends a lot less than what her money makes every year. Because, I mean, that kind of money, you've got to spend probably around about 15, 20,000 at the most. So here you've got someone spending 5 million, okay, not free. Here's another person spending 240,000 a year, completely free. It's now 15 years later. She's cool. Her money's growing. She's living her life. She's free. She doesn't have to talk to anybody about what she does, what she spends. She doesn't owe anybody anything. She controls her life. And that's why that's such a brilliant question. It's not about what you look like, about the big car that you drive, because you could be putting out a great image, I made it, and actually you owe the banks lots because you're earning the 40, but you're paying 50 in debt, and you've got all this great stuff, but actually you've got nothing. Actually, you work for the bank, not dissing Capitec, but you work for the banks because you've borrowed so much money. And so financial freedom to me is no debt, an emergency fund. I think we're going to talk about it, but it's here, so let's
So
hit
what
it.
is all go into it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So financial freedom is no debt, you owe nobody. Second one is you've got an emergency fund. What is an emergency fund? It's where you keep money in a money market account or a fixed deposit or a savings account that covers 6 months' worth of your expenses. So if you spend 10 grand a month, then that means you need 60,000 sitting in a money market account or something. And that's not the shoes fund or the handbag fund or whatever. That's the place that you go to when life happens. When something happens to you that you haven't planned for and you need to pay now. You've got to pay, you had a car accident and you've got to pay the insurance excess. Something happens to you. Cool. This is where my emergency fund kicks in. So you don't have to borrow money from anybody. You use your emergency fund. The last step, the hardest step, is when you've got enough money that you can live off the income from your money for the rest of your life. In other words, if you've got, let's just say, to make it easy for my maths, you've got $1 million that's of investments, and that $1 million generates you, let's say, 50 grand a year, could be more, but let's just say 50 grand a year, and you can live on 50 grand a year. You're financially free. You don't have 50 million rand. You don't spend 5 million rand, right? You've got $1 million rand. You spend 50 grand a year. You can be financially free. So if you're saying to yourself, okay, but hang on, 50 grand a year is not enough for me. I need 100 grand a year. Okay, so that means you probably need $2 million. The moment you've got $2 million and you've invested it really simply, really basically, you're earning 100,000 from your investments. Your money's still growing. Every year it's growing on itself, and you're free. To me, that's financial freedom.
Okay, so let me summarize. So you're saying the first one is you're spending less than you earn.
Every day.
You're earning 10 grand, you're only spending 8. Cool. You're debt-free, completely debt-free, right? And then you create an emergency fund that is equal to, you said 6 months of your expenses.
Yeah.
So my expenses are 5 grand a month, then I'd have to put 5 grand times 6 into that account. And that's for any sort of emergency.
Yeah.
And then the last one is invest in income-generating assets.
Yeah.
So let's just say I buy a rental property, and that property gives me money every month.
That's an income-generating asset.
That's income. So that makes quite a lot of sense, right? Makes quite a lot of sense. Right, cool stuff. Any other question before we keep moving? Cool.
Lots.
Let's take maybe just 2 more. Take 2 more.
Yeah, lots. Yeah.
Cool stuff.
The more questions we get, the better, right?
The better, always. What's wrong?
Hello, Mr. Warren.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine, and you? Let's say I have the belief and the vision of becoming a millionaire. Then I don't believe in that vision. Then how do I deal with such a situation?
Do you not believe in the vision because of other people, or do you not believe in the vision because of you?
Because of me.
Because of you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's about changing your own mindset, because I don't know where you're from, I don't know where you live, and sometimes the people and the things around you affect the way that you start to think. That's why I always say you should be around the right people. If you want to fly like an eagle, you can't be with chickens. You know what I mean? So if there are people that are telling you can't, you need to stay away from them. If there are people that are saying that, but you've just got 50 rand to save, you need to stay away from them because you've got a journey, you've got a vision, you have to follow through with it. Because there are always going to be people that are going to say, don't do it. And let me tell you about people that say, don't do it. They're afraid that you're actually going to do it. That's the thing. That's the thing that's why money is so important to me. Because even if you're earning very little, you can still get onto that trade. That's the most important thing. So whether you're earning 1,000, whether you're not even earning at all, if you can learn certain lessons, the day you start to earn, you know exactly what you need to do. So my advice to you, young man, is the people around you, change the people around you. Start to listen to different things. Start to read different things. Start to change the way you think. Because I believe in you. I don't even know you, but I believe in you. The fact that you came here says so much to me. So keep that vision. To everybody else, keep your vision. If they say you can't drive this car, or you can't buy this, or you can't get R1 million, keep your vision. Because one day is one day. One day is one day.
It's so easy to say can't. It's the easiest thing in the world, especially if you're saying it about someone else. You don't matter. You don't care. You can't do this. It's rubbish. You can do it. You got to decide. That's the trick. You decide.
Okay.
All right, Kostaf, do you have another question?
Hi, Warren. How are you?
Good, and you?
I'm good. You mentioned quite a number of a few things that are very interesting. Now, I need to ask you this question in terms of savings. Which ones can one look at in terms of options? You mentioned money market. You get to the bank, usually they'll tell you about 32 days notice. I think is the best thing that they always say. Which one would be the best to save on with high interest? The second one, Tsepo, you mentioned cash generating assets. I'm looking at something, livestock. What's your view on it? Let's say now I have inherited land and I want to invest or purchase maybe something on livestock. What's your view on it in terms of the current market and the performance? Maybe around, last time you spoke about lambs on 702. Let's look at...
About lambs?
Yeah.
Sheep. Okay, cool.
So can we wrap it up in the sense that I think his broader question is, as young people, where should I be putting my money?
Okay.
I think that's the broader question.
Cool.
If, say, every month I've got 100 rand, where do I put 100 rand? If I've got 1,000, if I've got 10,000, as a young person, where do I put my money?
So can we just talk about the lambs and the sheep and the livestock? I'll tell you why, because it's such a great example. I mean, one of the things that we like to talk about is compounding, right?
Yes.
Now, so buy a ram and a ewe, or so a male sheep and a female sheep. You put them in a pen, you feed them, you give them a bit of shelter, wait a while, and you've got a baby, right? Wait a bit longer, you've got another baby. That's compounding.
That's compounding.
That's compounding. And so, I mean, I'm not joking. I mean, that really is the most visual representation of how your little bit of money can start to make more money. You've got to look after it. You've got to care for it. In terms of whether it's better to be in sheep or livestock or beef or whatever, I haven't got a clue. I work in financial services, but my point is, it's a business. So it's actually, that's what you're doing. So I would always encourage people. The fact that you might work in the corporate world to have a job on the side, great, do it. Put effort in, back yourself and make it work. So that's the best answer I can give you there. In terms of where you invest and how you invest, I mean, one of the things is to decide the time, right? So if you're saving for 3 years' time to put a deposit down in a house, that's a short period of time. I know for a lot of people, 3 years sounds like a long time. But that means you've got to choose a fixed deposit or a money market account or something like that where you earn the best rate of interest, and shop around is the answer. Don't just look at one thing from one place. Look at all the different banks, look at all the different money market accounts, the fixed deposits, because they chop and change their rates. And so one will be better today and one will be better tomorrow. But do your homework and shop around. We spend more time shopping around for clothes and for our appliances than we do for our investment products. So do your homework there. The moment you're prepared to invest for 5 years or longer, you can look at shares. You can look at things like exchange-traded funds. We mentioned Satrix earlier. Unit trusts that are invested in shares. Those are great. And you mentioned Capitec. That's a great example, right? So you buy a share. You don't have to do anything. Just wait and you watch and you look and do your homework. Make sure. I'm not saying now go and put all your money in one share. That's dangerous. Buy lots of different shares. If you don't know, and it's scary, I mean, for me it's scary to go and only buy one share or to do the homework, then buy an exchange-traded fund. Satrix is the one we were talking about earlier. There are lots of them now, because one share, like Satrix, represents 40 shares. 40 different companies. And so for a period of 5 years or longer, that's the deal. I mean, that's a good place to go. Low cost.
All right, cool stuff. Warren, if I'm a high school student at the moment, I like high school kids. They're very, very smart. And say every month I have 50 rand. Realistically, what do I do with it? Because I think they've got such a huge advantage in the sense that they've got time on their hands. And so by the time they get to varsity, they've got a little something. By the time they start to work, they've already got a little something. Where should they particularly start putting their money? And if we're saying shares, can we explain to them what a share actually is and what do they get from that share?
Okay, can we talk about companies?
Yes,
okay,
yes,
cool.
yes.
So to me, the best place for young people to save right now in terms of what's low cost, what gives you access that you can work on your phone. I mean, I still work on a desktop, right? But for younger people, it's all about the phone.
Yeah.
And so a company like Easy Equities,
Okay.
So check them out if you haven't. They'll pretty much take any amount of money. So if you say I can put away 50 rand a month, open an Easy Equities account. It's simple to do. You're nodding. You agree? Great. I like it. So and with an Easy Equities, you can, if you've got that time frame, if you're a youngster and you say, cool, I'm 16 now. I'm happy to save until I'm 21. That's 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. So that means you can buy shares. So let's just talk about what a share is, and then that maybe the way of buying lots of shares with one. So a share, for example, is, let's just say Nike, because they're not. We all know what Nike is, right? Yeah. The clothing brand, sports stuff. Now Nike, you can actually go and buy. You can say, I want to go and buy a share in Nike. That doesn't mean you're going to own the whole of Nike. It doesn't mean you can pick up the phone to the CEO and say, look, I want red shoes. But what you do is you get a share of the profit that company makes every year. So if they're making $1 billion every year and you own one share, that means you're entitled to get a bit of the profit from that share every single year. And guess what? Nike generally makes a bit more profit than the year previously. Oh, yeah. So if they made $1 billion this year, next year they might be $1.1 billion. Now what's happening is your income that you're getting from that, your dividend is what it's called, is starting to get a bit higher. It's starting to grow. It grows faster than inflation. It grows faster than the price of our fuel that keeps going up all the time, and our electricity and all that stuff. Generally, that's what happens. But it's quite scary and dangerous to just buy one share, because one share might go down. Okay, and that's the problem. So what you want to do is you want to buy quite a few different shares, so that you've got shares in clothing companies, car companies, banks, insurers, all of those things. And that's why you need quite a few. But if you don't have the time or the knowledge, for example, to go and buy all of those straight away, especially if you're at school and you're busy and you've got to write exams and teachers down your back, then go and buy something like, and let's talk about it again, Satrix 40. You can buy that with Easy Equities with your $50 a month. And that will be the 40 biggest companies on the stock exchange right now. So DSTV, that's a company called MultiChoice, is the one that offers DSTV. They're there. The companies that sell beer, they're there. Not recommending drinking. But I mean, if you see lots of people drinking, then don't go and drink. What you do is say, let me buy the company that sells all the alcohol to those people, and
get a share of that.
I'll make a share of that. And so that's the point, is that you can then buy lots of different shares. Some will go up, some will go down, but over time, they'll all go up together, and that's where your money starts to grow on itself. And that's the point. That's how we get there. So, $50 a month, it's possible.
So it makes sense, because if you have, say, an iPhone, an Apple iPhone, you've bought the product, but you don't own the shares. You don't own the company. So if you have DSTV, you're driving this kind of vehicle, you're wearing these kind of shoes, you're on Instagram, you're on Facebook, it would make sense to buy shares in the things that you already know quite a lot about.
And now people are going to say, yeah, but in South Africa we can't buy those. Yes, you can. Go to Easy Equities. You can buy shares in Nike. You can buy shares in the gaming companies. You can see I don't play games. EA Vision, right? You can buy the company that makes it. You can buy the shares in Microsoft and make Xbox. So those are the kinds of things you can do. And so that's the point, is you can buy the brands and the businesses that you believe in, Facebook, Netflix, and the like. They are available there. And you can do it with $50 a month.
$50 a month, that's simple. Right, cool stuff. Any other questions from you guys? We cool? Got one in the front. Who's got the book and the mic?
You thought he had it. Are you the dad? Yeah. Okay, well done.
Now, in terms of relationships, I'm thinking marriage, I'm going forward to want to raise my daughter. How do I set up my marriage to help my financial situations? The big debate is always around out-of-community property, in-community property. What are the advantages? What are the disadvantages? Where do we go?
You're not going to like my answer because I'm with the woman in this one, right? So women lose in South Africa in divorce more than men. Do you agree?
It happens.
he's getting scared now. So I mean, my view is ANC with the accrual is the way to go, and the reason is that you've got to protect everybody in this situation. So I think your first point around getting married. So interestingly, in my experience of doing this for more than 20 years, the people that have accumulated the most financial freedom, so I'm not talking about wealth, but the people that have reached financial freedom, that have done it consistently over long periods of time, they've only been married once and they're still married. The bulk of them only been married once, still married. In other words, they don't get married, divorced, married, which is kind of what happens, right? That happens around the world. They stay committed to one partner because it's really expensive to get divorced. So my view is do the homework, make sure that you are compatible, talk about money before the time, and then go into it together with your eyes wide open. It's a partnership. So that's the deal about that. And then please get a will. Because most of our people in our country don't have a will, even if they've got kids. And then you're letting some government official decide how your child's going to be looked after financially if you're not around. That's crazy. So get a will, get an antenuptial contract, and then make sure that you jointly save for your kid. Tax-free savings account. Start when your kid is her age. Now, when she's this big. Because you're giving her a goal. You can save, I mean, it's like 33,000 Rand a year is the most you can save for a tax-free saving, but it's tax-free. And that thing is just going to grow. You're going to give her such a gift by the time she's 21. So my view would be that it's a great thing to do, but do your homework up front. Like a good share, you don't really want to buy a share to ever sell it. It's the same with getting married. Do your homework, make sure you've got the right person, then get married, and then stay married. And watch what happens to your money together, if you work together.
Cool. Does that answer your question? Cool. Any other questions? Cool. Got one here in the front.
Just pass it on. Just got to push the button there.
Is it on?
Just push the button.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Cool. So what I want to find out is, for people who are actually leaving varsity, right, and starting off work, they always faced with this thing of not knowing whether to buy a car first or a house. So from your side, what would you say is like a good thing to actually do first?
So the house versus the car thing.
So, I mean, my view is if you do the thing that's going to help you generate the most income so that you can save the most. That's the guiding principle for me when I'm starting is if I'm going to allocate money to an expense, I need to know that if I'm going to spend money, I'm spending money now so that I can make money. Okay? So living in a house, is it going to make you money?
What do you guys think? Is it going to make you money? Yes, no?
Living in a house, not renting a house.
Living in a house.
Is it going to make you money? But you might need a car to get to a job, and that might make you money. So to me, if a requirement of your job is to be able to get yourself to somewhere to work every day because you can't rely on public transport or whatever the deal is, then the default would be start with a car. And all of our parents would tell us to buy our own house, don't pay off the landlord's rent, okay? And that's terrible advice. It's really bad advice. I mean, I don't know, have a good time? Can I explain?
Still got a little bit of
okay,
time,
so I'm going to explain why now. But just want to stay on the car for a second. So you drive in these roads, and you see how many big cars there are, right? Mostly driven by men, unfortunately. And I don't know why that is, but that's the case. And we want to show people, right, we've got these big cars. We're bling. And my problem with that is that a car makes you no money other than allowing you to get to work, okay? So what is this like flashy thing that you show everybody that you've got? It's making you no money. In fact, it's costing you money because it's losing value every single day that you own it, every single kilometer that you drive. So my comment is, yes, spend the money on the car, but don't go and buy an expensive car. Go and buy a car that's safe, that's reliable, that gets you to where you need to be, and don't spend another cent. And then drive that car until it's no longer safe. That's the deal. So if I look at, and it's amazing, when I say don't spend money in a car, you know what's amazing is if I look at an audience like that, I don't know if you saw that, the women in the audience were going, yeah. And the men were going, idiots. But that's the secret. That is the secret. Is money. The car companies are brilliant at marketing to tell us that we need this thing. We need a self-driving car. We need like the thing that can go 0 to 100 in 2.2 seconds and a car that can go 300 kilometers an hour. You can't drive 300 kilometers an hour. Why the hell do you want that? So to me, that part. But then let's just talk about the thing that's going to irritate your parents and your grandparents when you go home and you say, that guy said, don't buy a house. The reason is, when you start work now, your parents say, go and buy a house. You're earning a salary, go and buy. Okay, cool. So now you buy what I could afford when I started work was like this big, right? So I could live there and I could eat there, and it was like that size. So as soon as I made a bit more money, the temptation is then to go and buy a 2-bedroom house, right? So what have I done now? I've paid the lawyers, and I've paid the estate agent, and I've paid the bank for the bond registration costs and all that stuff, and I've now moved into this thing. 3 years later, I sell it. Now I've paid another set of lawyers' fees, another set of agents' costs, and all those things to buy a slightly bigger house. 3 years later, I now want to impress because now I need to start dating and maybe I'm going to get married and I need kids and whatever. So now I buy a 3-bedroom house. What have I done? All those costs again and again and again. So my view is pay rent in the beginning when you start out and the smallest place you can afford to rent. But the difference is that what you would have paid in your bond, because remember when you buy a house, you're not just buying and paying off the bond, you're paying rates, you're paying taxes, levies, whatever the deal is. So that difference between the rent, which will be lower, and the home ownership costs, you need to save that. You need to put it aside. One day, when you say, right, I've met the person of my dreams, we're going to move in together, we're going to have kids, we're going to now live in the house. Once you figure out that this is the place you want to stay in for a time period of 8 years or longer, that's the house you buy. You do buy a house eventually, but not in the beginning when you're busy kind of finding your feet and growing. Don't go and put this huge debt on your back. Rather let your money start to grow. Save that. What happens is, a couple of years' time, you've got enough money for a deposit, but you've also got savings. You're starting to get to financial freedom. So that's the mistake and it's born in us. South Africans love property. Whenever you see these South Africans going overseas, they go and live in Australia or whatever, the first thing they do is they go and buy a house. I mean, it's crazy. What you should be doing is saying, I've got capital, and my capital generates income for me. That's financial freedom. So back to the car and the house.
I got you. Does it make sense? So I think it's about research and looking at your own situation. Hence he said, do you need a car to actually make money? Then the car makes sense. So it's about looking at your own situation and then making an informed decision based on that. So we're about to wrap things up with Warren. Any other questions from you guys? So cool. Can we take, two more? Two more, yeah? Okay, so we'll take 2 more.
Pressure's on.
Hi.
Hi.
Just to know, how do you go about identifying opportunities after you? Because when you begin, you spoke about disciplines. So after you've done that part of disciplines and you have money, because in disadvantaged areas like where I stay, the information that comes to you is the pyramid schemes, there's the forex guys, there's a lot of things that goes in. So how do you go about identifying those opportunities to say, okay, I've done my disciplines, like you said, opportunities mostly?
All right, so I'll give you a couple of ways that I've done it. On 702 every Monday, there's a slot there called Stock Pick Monday. I listen to it because they've done all the work. So they will say, these are the reasons we're buying these shares, and then I'll use that as my basis of information. But you can follow certain people on social media. You can do some of your own readings. Because when you start to buy shares, you start to use a whole lot of different information to make a decision. So I'll use radio, I use TV, I use social media, I listen to Warren, and if he says something on the show, I'll be like, oh, okay, cool, now that makes a lot of sense. So it's about using all those platforms, which you already have access to, irrespective of where you are. I mean, you've got access to radio, you've got access to social media. So that's how I do it, but I'll leave it to Warren.
No, I mean, that's the point, is that the internet is a powerful tool. And so, I mean, if you listen to podcasts from 702, and I mean, and not just mine, but I mean, there's, across the board, and multiple radio stations. I mean, they all spend so much time interviewing people that really know what's going on, and they provide it to you for free. And so, I mean, you're right to want to look at the information, but I mean, anyone that arrives at your door, okay, and says, I've got a piece of paper, and I'm going to show you how this thing goes up, and it's going to double every year. Kick him in the pants and tell him to go. Nothing in the world doubles every year. So the moment you're in your head often tells you, like, gee, this is too good to be true. Like, this thing's just going up so fast, and it goes up in a straight line. It never goes down. Your brain's telling you this is a problem, this is a scam. And most of the time it is a scam. So that's the thing about where we're starting to kind of get more and more information is, like the stock market. We're talking about shares now, and over the last 5 years, people that have been in shares are saying to me, you know what, my shares haven't gone up like this. They haven't just doubled and doubled, but I bought Bitcoin and that went up. And I was like, okay, cool. And then what happened? No, then it really went down, the Bitcoin. The shares also go down. And that's the thing, is a proper quality investment does this. But it does this, and it goes up and up and up. So my view is yes. I mean, I think that's, if you can buy books, I mean, great books are they don't publish. So the guys that run Ponzi schemes and pyramid schemes and stuff, they don't publish books. They don't write about that stuff. So that tells you something. And I think you can educate yourself a heck of a lot through the social media and through just proper podcasts. There's so much information there.
So you got that information? Cool stuff. So one more question, then we're wrapping it up. Who are we going to go with?
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So my question is, as a kid at home, what do I do if my mom is having financial risk? Fine, I do have a pocket money, and then I save it so that I can buy the needs I want. But then it's having that I have to always buy my important things, whereas she has a salary, but then she spends it on useless things. What do I do?
So it's a tough question, because that happens to a lot of us, right? I mean, in this country, your generation has much more knowledge about money than your parents, and much more knowledge than their parents. So the difficulty is you can't tell your parents they're being stupid, right? I guess you'll get into trouble when you get home. and I know, because my dad's sitting here, so I can't tell him he's stupid either. So the thing that I would say is, sometimes it's a conversation. Sometimes it's just, I mean, I know you can't teach your parents stuff, right? Because they're just going to think you're being, what, I don't know, rude?
Rude, yeah.
I don't know what to say there. I have to be careful. So, but sometimes it's just about sharing information to say, okay, can we talk about what we're saving for? What do we want to do? Because you can't say to her after she's bought the handbag or stupid things or the useless things that you're saying, you can't tell her afterwards, that was stupid, Mom, because I know what's going to happen. But you can have a conversation about the future. I want to save my pocket money. Are you also saving? What are we doing? And maybe she'll listen, maybe she won't, maybe she just thinks you think you know everything and she doesn't. But the point is, sometimes you can't get around that. Sometimes you have to work around your parents as well, because they don't have the knowledge. And if they're not willing to listen and they're not willing to learn, then maybe you can't help them. But you can at least have a conversation. You can try. And if you don't succeed with her, just know that you're going to have to save for yourself, and one day you're going to have to save for her as well. You're going to have to look after her, because that's probably what's going to happen. But that doesn't mean don't start or give up hope now, because you can take control of this thing. If you start saving your pocket money now, and you don't just use it to buy stuff, you also use it to start growing and let your money make money babies, then watch how quickly you can start to look after your mom, and then you can tell her what to do. Because then you're saying, hang on, I'm giving you pocket money now, and you better spend it wisely.
Okay.
I think it's a challenge in a lot of black households, and I think every household where your parents might not know a lot about money and you know a little bit more. And I think the fact that you come to events like this, that's when we start to change the generation, because now you're going to be the one that knows a lot, and then your duty is to teach whoever comes below you. So I think that's all we can do to take it forward, but it's very, very tricky.
And maybe say to her, for Christmas, you would like a book called How to Become Your Own Financial Advisor. And then what you do is say, don't you want to read this first, Mom?
So, and she's got the book, so she's going to keep the book, so she can give it to her mom.
Give it to your
right?
mom.
She's going to give the book to her mom. Right, cool stuff. So, fortunately, we need to wrap up this session. Thank you so much, Warren, for coming, for sharing your information. This is what the event is about. It's not about big words and trying to confuse everybody. We try and make money very personal and very easy. So, Warren, thank you so much. Thank you to Capitec Foundation as well for showing us all this love. So, are you guys going to be buying books, reading, doing all the right things? You are, right? Okay, cool stuff. So, DJ, can you give us just a little bit of some music while we get our second speaker on? Okay, we can